Rebecca.
Hello.
How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. So tell me your story and what got you here. You've probably heard this already if you've seen my one-on-one videos.
Um, well, I guess like nothing in my life was really working.
Hmm.
Like no matter what I did, I just ended up not happy. So I did like everything like college, career, all that stuff. And so then I just kind of, I don't know, I stumbled across Angelo, and it was like a video about enlightenment with a doctor, like an
Okay.
interview. And then he brought up enlightenment, and I always thought like enlightenment was like a religious concept, so I kind of
Yeah.
just blew it off. But then I was like, well, nothing else worked. Why not? And so yeah, I'm just sick of seeking,
Yeah. So
basically. But,
so what have you done since you saw Angelo? What kind of your history with seeking?
just a lot of books, a lot of
A lot of books.
teachers.
Yeah. Who have you gone through? Let's see. I just want to see where you're
Um,
at.
a lot of Rupert Spira,
Mhm.
a little bit of Muji, Helen Hamilton, Terrence Stevens. I think those are the main ones.
The main ones. Okay. Have you gone to
Hmm.
any retreats or anything like that? Or
Yes,
you have? Okay.
only online. I've done
Okay.
online retreats.
And which ones did you go to?
I did one Rupert, and then I've done like three with Angelo.
Okay. Have you done any one-on-ones with anyone before?
No,
No, this is the first one. Oh, wow.
yes.
Okay. And what happened with those retreats? Was there any glimpses or anything like that, or
Um,
frustration, happiness, whatever,
Everything,
everything? Yeah.
everything I'd
Yeah.
say. Yeah.
Did you have glimpses as
So,
well?
um, I don't know about the retreats, but like with Angelo, he would talk about doing self-inquiry
Yeah.
and doing the
Yeah.
who am I thing.
Mhm.
And so I eventually, like, I thought it was the dumbest thing ever. I'm like, this is so stupid. But I
Yeah.
eventually, like, caved and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do this. And then it was like, it just like suddenly seemed like I was like sucked into the vortex. And then it
Yeah.
was just like dead silence.
Yeah.
And then,
And how
yeah,
long
that
did
only
that last?
lasted maybe a day. Didn't last
Maybe a
long.
day. Okay. And what
Yeah.
got you here?
I don't know. I just keep seeing your videos. I'm like, okay, why not?
Okay.
There's another one.
Another one.
And then, yeah,
And how many of the one-on-ones have you seen so far?
a lot.
A lot. Okay. All right. So you're familiar with what I do then, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Have you followed along with some of the questions or not yet?
Yeah, I have.
You have. And what happened?
Well, the first time it was just um a lot of silence.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And how long did it last?
not long.
Not long. Okay.
Like it was silence, and then I knew like if I went anywhere from like there, then it would be a thought.
Okay. All right.
And so I'm like, okay, but
Okay. It's gonna appear differently for everybody, right? So, um, but
hmm.
but the question that I have is, what do you believe at this second? If you can't go to the past or the future, forget everything that you've heard,
Okay,
just at this moment, just this second. What do you believe?
nothing.
Yeah. Okay. It's a good start. If you can go to the past or the future, then is anything missing?
No.
No. There you go. So what's between a belief and a non-belief?
Um, nothing. I don't.
Yeah. What's between nothing and not nothing?
Same.
Yeah, same, right? So
Hmm.
that's really how simple it is, right? It's the
Hmm.
thoughts come and go, you know what I'm saying? But in between, you know what I'm saying? Or in the space between thoughts, there is a an immediacy, like a directness, where there is neither you or no you. It's between self and no self, between mind and no mind, right? And in that directness, in that in between space, like artists usually say that, oh no, God wrote this, or, or people playing sports, right? So it's in between thinking and not thinking. And then if you notice, where are the thoughts right now? Yeah.
None.
Yeah. Yeah. Hooray. It's that simple. and and it's just a quietness, right? So everything's still the same basically. There's an unfolding, not in the next, not in a thought, not in the thoughts will try to come, but they're irrelevant. You're beginning to see that thoughts are relevant. And if you really look at it, all words are made up, because they are. So why would you believe a thought when they're all made up? So we can also say that you are.
No, I don't know.
Yeah. How you doing, by the way?
I guess fine. I don't know.
Yeah. That's what it is, really. It's like, in the directness, the opposites, basically, right? It's kind of like, the thought maintains itself by creating an opposite. The words are dualistic, basically. So, for example, if you're looking for the thought to go to no thought, then you're stuck looking for the next. Thinking about the next just produces more thoughts, right? But
Yeah,
if you go in between thought and no thought, what's there?
nothing.
It's simple. Yeah. So if all words are made up, then what everyone's talking about is also made up. Like awareness, consciousness, they're words. Spirituality, non-duality,
Yeah.
they're words. Yeah. Right. So to wake up, right, is to wake up from the delusion of words. And that's why a lot of people call it silence, emptiness, that kind of thing. But even those becomes ideas about what this should be. So in between ideas and no ideas, what's there?
Nothing.
There you go. Yeah. And life becomes a little bit more simpler, because I used to have depression and anxiety, right? So if I can go to the past, then there's no depression. If I can go to the future, then there's no anxiety. And I used to have severe
Good.
anxiety and even suicidal thoughts, because kind of like you, my life just became kind of like, what's the point of this? Right?
Yeah.
Marriage
Yeah.
didn't make me happy, right? My
Mm.
career was not making me happy, because I was stuck in my thoughts to make me happy. What's between happy and not happy? So we just get really caught up in words if you look at it, right? Because when we were kids, when we knew less words, we were happier.
Mm.
We learned the words, we learned happy and not happy, we learned sad, we learned all of this stuff. And even the moment that we feel, it gets hijacked by a thought, and we'll call it, oh, I feel horrible today. So how do I get to
Yeah.
not horrible?
What's between horrible and not horrible?
Exactly, right? It's like you
Yeah.
wake up from the intoxication, the delusion of words. You're like, okay, wait a second. Because if you look at animals, look, if you look at like dogs, right? Um, they learn from us actually. When you say bad, the dog always goes. But it's all innocent, really, if you look at it. Did you have any religious background, Rebecca?
No, not
No?
really.
Oh, wow, that's pretty good. I grew up Catholic, so mine was shame and guilt.
Oh, well, okay. So my mom was LDS, so yeah, I grew up with
Oh,
shame and
okay.
guilt too. So,
Oh my
but
goodness.
it's I didn't go to church.
LDS is just
So,
another one. I know some LDS people that it's kind of like, I'm like, wow, you have a lot of um right or wrong thinking, basically, right? And
yeah.
a lot of um a lot of shame, actually. A lot of
Just for
shame,
being
and
human, yeah.
just for being human. And
Yeah.
And then we grow up with that, so we learn that, right? That's not our nature really to figure out, you know what I'm saying, what's shameful and not and everything. It's almost like a construct. So we grow up in this construct based on the words of others that we learn. And then no wonder we get really depressed or anxious because we think that we're not perfect. But without thinking,
Mhm.
if you think of all the words, all of the ideas, all of the concepts, it's perfect. What's between perfect and not perfect?
Okay.
Yeah, for quite a while I was like a devout Catholic. I would sing to Jesus and everything. And then I became an atheist because I'm like, this doesn't make sense. Like, why are they condemning so many people, right? Or you know,
Yeah.
or going to
Yeah.
hell and everything. I was like, why would God allow that? Like it just didn't make just so much contradictions, right? Why would he
Yeah.
send heaven and hell, and why would this and that? And then one point I was looking at the world, I'm like, is the rest of the people Catholic? And I was like, oh my goodness, like 90% of people are going to hell.
Yeah. Yeah,
And then
that's what
for
I'm like.
and then for
That
for for LBS, probably like, wow, 99% of the people are going to hell because there's
no,
not a
I
lot.
don't. Yeah, but I think they like to think otherwise.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah,
You know
they're
them,
gonna
you know what I'm
build their
saying?
own heaven.
You build their own
Yeah.
heaven. So I saw
Yeah.
that as a construct. So, but there was still something missing. So I went to spirituality, right? So, and now I was meditating, and I became a spiritual teacher. Um, and then there's reincarnation, and then there's enlightenment, and there's a whole bunch of different stuff that creates this separation. Without any words, is there any enlightenment or not enlightenment?
No.
No. Yeah. So all this is really just is to become at peace with whatever seems to appear, and the end of seeking. Because if you see that all words are made up, then no one has the truth, because even the word truth is made up. But there's an unspeakable truth, I'm using words, although, right? That's silent, that's peaceful.
Mhm.
Like, when I was in spirituality, even with a bit of non-duality, right? I was in chaos. I was always trying to go to the next. I'm like, oh, when is the me going to disappear? When am I going to realize my true nature? When am I going to? It's always the next, the next, the next. But next is made up. Where's the next right now? Oh,
Just in thought.
yeah. So everything, all of your reality, everything you remember is just a thought. It's the same thing as like everything that you know is a dream. The definition of a dream is a series of thoughts and feelings appearing in someone's sleep. Just change the someone slept into when someone's awake. This is all still thoughts and feelings and sensations,
Yeah.
right? If you take away the
Hmm.
thoughts, then what's there? You can say sensations, but that's just another thought about something that we don't know. So instead of seeing this as a miracle, as something epic, right?
Hmm.
We see it as like something wrong with me. Instead of seeing this as a whole, then we see ourselves as separate. Yeah. And that's basically it. Simple. So I went through 20, 30 years of seeking only to arrive at this clarity.
Yeah, I didn't want to be one of them. I'm
No,
like,
enjoy your life, you know what I'm saying? I ended up going to an ashram, cleaning toilets, you know what I'm saying? Following gurus and teachers, and then going to so many retreats that I sold my house and I became bankrupt at the end. And I didn't know how to function in the world anymore because all I knew was teaching meditation and spirituality. And I didn't want to do that anymore because I'm like, what the hell? Everybody's just talking about an idea. And then I went into severe anxiety. You've heard my story. I don't need to repeat it, right? I was just DJing one day and I'm like, I can't find my Emerson. I'm like, oh my goodness, Emerson's just a thought. I'm like, if Emerson's just a thought, then everything that he believes is just a thought. I'm like, what the hell? So I was dumbfounded. I was like, for like a month, just like, but I've suffered so much though, right? Like I was like in my bed, thinking about, how to kill myself over and over and over again because I felt my life was worthless now because I thought I got the enlightenment. One day I was, I saw everything as God. You can also say that, you know what I'm saying? If you take away the word God, you can take away everything. You can, without any word, without the use of words, what are you looking at?
Don't know.
Yeah. So some people will call it consciousness, awareness, nothing, but they're just words again, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah. So some people wake up to words and call it consciousness. It's still dreaming. It's still a thought.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's why people can like go to retreats over and over again. They'll never get it.
I think that's where I get confused is when the words come in. Then I'm like, whole? What do you mean whole?
Exactly. Yeah.
You know, stuff like that. Then I'm like, wait, whole? How's it whole?
Yeah.
And then I'm back in my head immediately, like,
Yeah, because you're confused now again, right? You need to figure that
yeah,
out now. So then you
yeah.
you contact the teacher, speaker, or whatever, and they're like, "What do you mean whole?" And they'll give you like a 20 minutes of explanation of what it is. That's whole. Now that you're
Yeah,
beginning, yeah, now that you're beginning to see that all words are made up, all of the concepts will start falling away. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
And it's going to be easier because if you go to someone that's never heard of non-duality, they'll be like, "What are you talking about?"
True.
Right.
Sounds like you're crazy.
Yeah. What do you mean there's no self? There's no me. But no self is just another thought. It's just another invention by a self. It's just
Yeah.
the opposite of the self. So what's in between self and no self? I just did the other day like a lovely lady that's in her 80s, and she's been seeking for 50 plus years,
Wow.
and she's gone to retreats. She's met them in person, right? And went through,
Hmm.
she can't count even how many retreats. Spent about 500 grand in seeking,
Oh,
right?
wow.
And then she can't believe how simple it is when she got to me. She's like, it's too simple. It can't be.
Hmm.
And yet, if you hear the descriptions of everybody, it's like, it's simple. But why make it so complicated? Why do you need 5 days or 10 days to explain something that's so simple?
I don't
Yeah.
know.
Much love to these teachers and speakers, you know what I'm saying? But for the seeker, they're compassionate, so they'll do what they do, right? But if you really want to
Hmm.
be direct, and see that it's whole, then there's really no seeker, there's no speaker here. And even the word whole, who cares, right? Because it's just something that you try to understand.
Hmm.
And then we start getting into, maybe I need to do this full time now, my seeking, right? Because it becomes more attractive to you. And then you bypass life thinking that, you know what, if I get enlightened, then I don't have any problems anymore. But if you even go,
Hmm.
but without any thoughts, are there any problems?
No.
No. There you go.
Mm-mm.
Yeah. So it's just in between thoughts. It's just simple. But since you've been indoctrinated and brainwashed basically to think, um, you'll have some relapses and everything. You know what I'm saying? It's okay.
Hmm.
Just go in between. And then don't get caught up in someone saying that there's no me, because there's another side of non-duality. I don't know if you've heard radical. which is
Yeah, I can't listen to that.
good.
I find it annoying.
It is. I was more in that, I went from both, right? I went from the consciousness awareness group, you know what I'm saying? I had a lineage
Hmm.
of like, like all of the great masters and everything. And then at the end of that, I'm like, oh, that's just such a fraud, right? Because um no one that was teaching for 10 years, I was teaching meditation, no one ever got free. And I just saw that more suffering was happening, right? Because now they're buying into concepts. Now they're buying into like somebody would be like, how much more can I purify my mind and my body and everything, right?
Hmm.
And they didn't know that it was happening to me too, because I kept on having these blissful moments and then losing it. Having blissful moments, I was addicted to the idea of enlightenment.
Yeah,
It
I
was
think
my
we all
drug.
are then.
What's that?
I think we all are then.
Not anymore.
Anyone who's seeking.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. So the end of
That's
seeking,
true.
you know what? What's the point when you see this now, right? Is there any point seeking? Unless you believe in the idea that
Uh,
there is bliss and enlightenment and that kind of stuff, right? Because if there really is just pure bliss, then
yeah,
who would be teaching? They'll just be sitting under a tree or staring at the wall nonstop. If there's permanent
yeah,
bliss, you know what I'm saying? Because nothing
yeah.
would ever, or they'll just disappear and not talk to anyone anymore. It's the same thing as if someone won like the power. Well, whereabouts are you, Rebecca?
Um, in the US, I'm in
In the
Utah.
U.S. So if somebody won the Powerball, which is I don't know how many $500 million, right? Will they go
Yeah.
back and try to teach you how to make money?
And
that's that's the same thing as teaching enlightenment, basically, right? For me, for me, the reason I do this is because I went through so much suffering before, right? And I did
Mhm.
find this is actually really epic though. Like it's my life is still very simple. Um, I still have problems once in a while, right? Like, like I have to take care of my mom. Um, but I'm content because I'm not caught up in words anymore. You can say that I'm happy. I laugh all the time because I don't take life seriously
Mhm.
anymore, right? It's just like,
Yeah.
who fucking cares? That kind of thing. But I'm also very, very blunt. You know what I'm saying? I call it out
Mhm.
because there's a authenticity, and I'm not just sugarcoating everything. I'm not a dealer of enlightenment, right? I'm more kind of like get out. You know, saying get out of seeking. It will just bring you a lot of suffering. But when you see that the words are all made up, enlightenment doesn't even matter anymore because you see that it's just another word, don't you?
Mhm.
Yeah. But there's so much more to life than words, though, right? Don't get me wrong. I look at the sunrise this morning and I cried again. There's just so many things, right? When the word starts, you know, um, basically disappearing, then life becomes. And I look at my mom and my dad and my brothers and my sister. We have awesome relationship now because I'm not trying to change them anymore. I just see them as it is, right?
Yeah.
I'm not trying to fix them. Before I'll be like, I was so manipulative that I would be like, I would buy like 10 books of the power of now and I like casually leave it. You know what I'm saying? And my dad's like, did you leave this book? I'm like, oh, you should read it, Dad. It's a really great book. Look at me. I'm in the now. Meanwhile, I'm judging, him for not being the now. I'm like, you're still in the ego, Dad. And then I started changing, and I had like a really good corporate, career in
Mhm.
communications, and I was about to make a lot of money, sold my house. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to be spiritual now because I found a way to make myself, better than everybody else. And if that was not enough,
Mhm.
now that I'm spiritual, I'm going to be enlightened now. And I got there, to be honest with you. You know what I'm saying? I did lots of meditation. I did more than 10,000 hours of meditation. I started teaching. Um, but only to look at others that are meditating. I'm like, you're not meditating. And I became vegan, of course, just to judge everyone that was eating meat. I'm like, oh my goodness, how could you eat a dead animal? That kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it became non-duality. And I'm like, oh my goodness, there's still a me there. There's still a self.
Yeah,
But
I
they're
was
just all
wondering.
words.
Yeah, because I was wondering, like, why do these people think there's a difference between eating a plant and an animal?
I know.
Like, yeah,
Yeah.
because you go on the retreats and they're like vegan only food or don't bring animal products. And then I just really thought, like, I don't know what the difference is.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
maybe one might cry and maybe one doesn't. I really don't know. I don't
Exactly.
know that plants don't cry,
Actually, they're beginning to
but
find out now that they do. You know what I'm saying? That there is.
oh,
Yeah, yeah, there is.
huh.
They're sentient or something. You know what? There's more studies coming up. But regardless, what if everything is just a word, including die and alive? We're just basing it off from our knowing, based on our idea of right or wrong. One idea is right or wrong could be completely different from one idea is right or wrong. But because they're ideas, there's no right or wrong. Right or wrong are just ideas.
Yeah, yeah.
True or false are just words, and all words are made up. So we're in a construct of reality that, you know what I'm saying, that there is a creation of morality, a creation of ethics and everything. Um, and then we create division. In the States right now, I'm in Canada, your politics are wild there right now, right? So it's like,
Hmm.
to support one person, then you have to deny or half of the population, basically. It's so divided, right? So we are
Hmm.
we are based now on our beliefs on what is right or wrong. So one side of the party thinks that the other side is wrong and we're right.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
then one other side of the parties thinks the same way, right? So there's
Hmm.
always going to be duality, but if you go in between that duality, there's peace.
Hmm.
What's between eating meat and not eating meat? Yeah. My dad it was so sad because, like my dad saw that I was like losing weight and I was just neurotic seeker, right? And I was always correcting. And then one day for my birthday came down, he goes, I made you your favorite dish, which is a beef, like brisket or something. And I was like,
Hmm.
oh, and I was just so angry at him for making my favorite dish. He didn't have any intention, but it's my birthday. And he didn't
Hmm.
understand that I was vegan now, right? I'm like, how could you
Hmm.
eat an animal and everything? And this, and that. And I saw that he was really hurt. He just, he just didn't say anything, you know.
Yeah.
And yeah. And it's the same thing with there's families probably fighting right now because of their political beliefs or spiritual beliefs,
Oh
right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. All the
Especially in
time.
Utah, right? Oh my goodness, Utah is such an LDS thing, right? And then
Yeah.
even in the LDS, there's a separation, right? There's the Phelps, and all that kind of stuff.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
And even in your
Yeah.
own circle, probably your friends probably like, oh, you know what? Rebecca's weird now. She talks about enlightenment, that kind of thing.
Oh, yeah, they think I'm crazy, but I think everyone's crazy, so
Well, you know what? When
oh
when
well.
you'll start seeing that everyone is crazy
Well, they
because
are.
they're
Well,
always
we are.
thinking, yeah,
Everyone's
we
crazy.
are, we are, we
So,
are, yeah.
you know.
When I first got out of the because I was like I went silent for a whole month. I couldn't speak, right? Because I was just like, I'm like, what the hell? Everything that I would say, I'm like,
Mhm.
oh shit, that's made up. I'm like, that's made up. It's just like waking up from a nightmare of words, right? Because at one point I would thought, okay, check it out. At one point I thought it was like ultimate enlightenment I've reached, right? So, and then I lost it and I went to becoming ultra enlightened into to becoming the biggest piece of shit on the planet of Earth. That's what I was thinking of myself. I'm like, how could I lose the most important thing that could happen to a man, right? I must be the biggest piece of shit of the planet of the earth, that kind of thing. Right? So of course, imagine, and I'm like, I have to get that back. I have to get that back. And then one day I woke up from that nightmare of going back and forth in duality and saying that, oh shit, it's all a dream. And I would say something and it would just crumble. And I'm like, I don't think of something and it will just disappear. And I'm like, what the hell? And then I was just kind of like walking around. Like I was supposed to do a silent retreat. That's why there was no one around. And I was just afforded to be silent. Um, and I was walking around like a little kid because I was free of words, doing cartwheels, sometimes walking around naked, you know what I'm saying? Just being free. It's like, because I got so serious with enlightenment. That became kind of like
Yeah.
my full-time job, right?
Hmm.
It's like, and I know anyone that would pay to do a one-on-one got serious with enlightenment or sick of it, tired of it. I think you got tired of it, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, because seeking is torture.
Yeah,
It's miserable. And it's
it
like,
is.
and it got to the point I'm like, I don't even know what I'm looking for. And it
Yeah.
doesn't make sense to seek. Because I'm like, what am I gonna find? Like, but yeah, I'm still like, where's the fireworks?
Yeah, yeah. The
But then
fireworks
I'm
is
like,
just another word if you look at it. The aha
yes.
moment is just another thing, right? It's just
Yes.
another word. And you know
Yeah.
what? Of course, people that are speaking about this are selling something.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes. Yeah.
So they're going to talk highly about it, right? Sometimes, you know what? They'll
Oh
talk how
yeah, yeah. They
ordinary.
gotta make it look good.
Yeah, you got to make it look good, right? You have to package it and everything and that kind of stuff, right?
Mhm.
And I admit that it can't be talked about, and everybody will tell you that it can't be talked about, but yet there's so many talks about it,
Oh
and
yeah.
there's beliefs now, like, oh, Rebecca, you have to go to do all these levels and stuff. Then
Oh
you're
yeah.
then you're hooked, right? You're hooked all of a sudden.
Well, yeah, because I mean, I've watched your videos on the contracted energy when you've talked about it, and I'm like, that's what I was like. I'm like, well, I can't find this contraction. What are they talking about? I'm like, it must be somewhere. Where is it?
Yeah, well,
And
if
then
you
I'm
do a 1 year one-on-one, you know what I'm saying, then we'll get rid of the contraction that was not there.
right. And, oh yeah, I'm like, where is it? It's there. I can't find it. Where is it?
You know?
And then I'm like, okay, well, what's energy?
Yeah,
I don't know. And so yeah,
it's
I
just
mean,
a
this
made
could go
up
on
word
forever.
again. It will just keep on going forever until you're like 80 plus years old and saying, I'm done, right? Because you'll just keep on going and going and going. And people like me that are more like whistleblowers and just basically just blunt with it, right? Are
Yes.
I usually don't make it, what I'm saying? In this kind of stuff, right? Because people don't
Yeah.
want to hear that it's over. When you see the words are all made up, it's over. But luckily, you know what? A lot of people are writing me now saying that thank you for these videos because it
Hmm.
stops the seeking, right? It stops
Hmm.
the madness, basically, the insanity of thinking that, you know what? I have to get into this, I have to keep on doing this until I find what my mind is looking for. But what's really a mind, or until I find myself,
Uh,
but what's really a self? Till I find the emptiness, like it will just keep on changing, and one person is going to sell you something differently, right? One person is going to
Yeah.
tell you it's nothing, and one person is going to say, well, it's just not nothing, and everybody will just keep on having their versions of it. But any version of this is a fabrication. Everything is a
Kind
fabrication.
yeah, it's kind of messed up.
It is, but you don't
It's
want
kind of cruel.
it is kind of cruel, you know what I'm saying? And that's
Hmm.
why my first go at this, I'm like, I can't do this. I can't, right? Because it's
Yeah.
not even working for me. When I was meditating and just doing all of the inquiry and everything, At one point, after 4 hours of meditation, I was like, should I just go to a bar and have a beer and just tell the bartender what's going on with me rather than, trying to quiet my mind or trying to get rid of my thoughts. So one day I did, I just went to a bar, and I'm actually
Yeah.
glad for that now because before I'm like, why did I do that? And then, you know what? I just partied until I destroyed that holy character of Emerson. That was like a saint of the enlightened Emerson, basically, right? I'm like, oh, and of course I
Hmm.
regretted when that got destroyed because I was like, you know what? I want to have fun, I'm getting divorced, that kind of thing. And I just want to have fun. I just want to dance, drink, all that kind of stuff, right? And I thought that that was
Hmm.
so wrong because I was sober for um 8 years or more. I can't remember because I became the super holy Emerson, the
Yeah. That's gonna get
this
in the way.
that's yeah. So I got rid of that and I was super vegan. You've heard my story about, at one point I was not even eating anymore. I was just I was just I would buy a bushel of fruits, that fruit that fell off a tree, which is really expensive by the way. So there's no harm, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then they rot so fast, right? So you're eating worms anyway.
Ew.
I know. And then I decided I'm going to be breatharian because I'm like, I think I ate the worm. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's not good, right? Because I'm eating rotting fruit, right? So, and then before that, I was raw vegan, right? So I was like dehydrating, like sunflower seeds to make it into a bread, and all that kind of stuff. And felt like I was eating cardboard after cardboard, it was just like nonstop, no taste, right? And and you know what? If there ever was a sin, I'm a glutton. I love eating. Do you like eating?
Um,
Like I can go to a taco buffet and eat like three
I don't do
people's worth.
buffets, but yeah. Well, I guess if I could and not gain weight, I would really like eating.
I gain weight, I guess, but I run a lot too. So I have a lot of energy
Yeah.
for some odd reason, right? So I go to a buffet and eat like so many tacos and then run for 2 hours or 3 hours the next day. So I guess it works out, right? So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, I don't even
Yeah.
plan it. It just happens. Or I don't eat the next day, right? There's just
Yeah.
this. But anyway, yeah, so liberation is freedom from everybody's idea of what liberation is and being authentic as you are without the words of others, without the influence of others, right?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because if you're going to follow someone's prescription or description of what freedom is, then you're going to suffer anyway because you'll never
Yeah, that
reach it.
didn't work. That didn't work.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
all the things we're supposed to do to be happy,
No. That
supposedly, it didn't
supposedly,
work.
yeah, yeah. Even me can you know, before I thought that if I would make this amount of money, right? If I didn't have any money problems and around my problem, I still had problems. There was one point that I'm like, okay, I have a house, and I was just big house, and I just kept filling it up with furnitures. Right? I'm like, great, I have three living rooms now. Like I have three couches. Okay, so I need to get another
Yeah.
house, a bigger house now, so I can put 5 couches in it. It just never ends, right?
Right. Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, so now I have 5 bedrooms, and one is a meditation room. All right, okay, this does make me happy, and I'm like, no. All right, I've reached the top of my career, right? I'm about to be an entrepreneur with my best friend, and we're about to make millions of dollars and everything. And I'm like, that's not gonna make me happy. So I gave up all the wealth and started giving away a lot of my money to people that needed it more than me. And I thought that being spiritual make me happy. So now I got into enlightenment. Here I am enlightened,
Yeah.
helping others and doing the work of Jesus and Buddha and all that kind of stuff, right? And
And it's the same.
and I was like, oh shit, I'm not happy. What do I need to do? I'm like, maybe I can become vegan, and I can be super enlightened, and maybe it'll disappear. Then now I'll be enlightened. Nope, none of that happened. there were temporary happiness and bliss, like Satchitananda, and like it's the same thing with earning a lot of money, right?
True.
You have a lot of money in the bank, you're like, oh my goodness, I can buy whatever I want, right? But
Mm-hmm.
it's empty at the same time
Mm-hmm.
because it's an idea of happiness. Even enlightenment is an idea of happiness.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. If you say that to somebody, in a paradise island that they have no idea what religion is, they'll laugh at you because they don't even know about the self. So what's there to
Oh,
lose? Yeah, see?
interesting.
Yeah. I'm Filipino, right? So I've been
Mm-hmm.
to in my country, there's tribes that have no idea what we're talking about, and they're happy as fuck.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
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 And even if you look at it, non-duality and spirituality becomes for the privileged, right? Because I don't have any money problems anymore, so I'm going to start seeking.
Well, yeah, you got to pay for those fancy retreats, and which are
Yeah.
expensive, the in-person ones.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Yeah.
Yeah.
I spend so much money. You know what I'm saying? It's embarrassing. Um,
I'm lucky I don't trust people, so I didn't do that. So I'm like frugal with what I choose to pay
That's
for,
good. That's good. Yeah.
Because I'm like, no, I don't trust people.
Yeah, and that's a good thing. You know what? I'm the same too, but my desire to be enlightened overpowered my trust. So I ended up with
Mhm.
a couple of, I'm not going to mention names, a couple of cult-like leaders, right? And I'm like, what the hell? This is like a cult, right? But people don't see it because they're so caught up in their belief system. And if you see something that's
Mhm.
an authority figure, right, that has a circle, like a circle of people around them that's always supporting that authority figure, and that's a cult leader.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And then they have an ideology now that they're selling to you, right? And if you join that, right, then you become a part of that pyramid scheme, basically. Someone's at the top and you're trying to get to the top, but you'll never get to the top because that spot is occupied. So I don't even like communities, right? I don't even encourage it because communities just creates this groupthink. And I like people just to be individuals, you know what I'm saying? And just friends and just be
Mhm.
upfront with it, right? Just to be just normal. I still have mystical
Yeah.
experiences, you know what I'm saying? I have quietness of the mind or whatever, but I'm normal, right?
Yeah.
I still you know what I'm saying? I still go to a buffet, you know what I'm saying? And I don't care what people think, you know what I'm saying? Because that's what I like.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and I don't really get angry that much anymore. Like when I got angry, it took 5 years the last time. Then I was
Oh
worried actually. I'm
wow.
like, I don't get angry anymore because I don't have much thoughts about to get angry with. I don't have grudges, right?
Yeah.
But I'm still very cheeky. I'm still very blunt. And I'll call out the stuff, right? And that's just the
Mhm.
character. Who cares? And then there's people that don't like what I do because you know what? It's like exposing a whole bunch of stuff
Good.
and just clarifying it, right? And I'm glad that you trusted me.
Well, it like it helps people because like I mean, my thoughts used to be brutal, like pulling me everywhere from depression to anxiety nonstop. Like, do this, do that. You can't do that. You need
Yeah,
just all day nonstop. And so, like, it has helped to slow it down. Like, meditating has helped to
it
slow it
does.
down.
It
So
does.
it's
Yeah, yeah.
less of that. So it does help people, but
Oh yeah. I don't.
not
For
stringing them
me,
along.
meditation is perfect if you want to feel more relaxed in the dream. But when it's used as a way to end suffering or to get enlightened, then it becomes pointless
Yeah.
because the self is reinforcing the self through meditation. Because your meditation is not about relaxing anymore. It's
No,
about
you're looking
you.
for something.
You're looking for something, right? And It's good. It's a good tool. You know what I'm saying? But if you're depending on that, because I was a meditation junkie for quite a while. Listen, like in the beginning, it did help. But when it became kind of like my path to enlightenment, then it got fucked. Because when was it going to stop? Like, and I had to maintain it. Like, my life depended now on meditation. Like, I would have a hissy fit if my meditation, if I'm like, oh my goodness, I missed 10 minutes of my 3-4 hour meditation. That's why I'm like this. I have not meditated in the past 8 years, and I have never had a hissy fit or anxiety or depression.
Nice.
So it's,
Nice.
so for my experience, it's bullshit, right? But I did it though. I went through it for 10 years. I was in meditation for 10 years. It's fine, saying I can see it that people do need it sometimes, when they have a stressful job. But when you get into seeking enlightenment, it should be, it should be an option, not a requirement. Because when somebody thinks
Yeah.
they know better than you now, then you believe that person has gotten something. For me, I lost everything. That's the difference in me, right? I lost my ideas. I
Yeah.
lost my judgment for myself. You know what I'm saying? I lost a self that was never there. All I see this is just appearances or, whatever. That's even saying way too much, right? So there's a clarity here without words, without concepts, without ideas. It's not passed on by somebody. I did not learn this from anyone, right? And it's the same with you right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just you're you. You know what I'm saying? Although there's no you, if you know what I mean, right? You're not going to start speaking like, me now. And you're like, oh.
No.
And I'm going to start saying, according to Emerson, it's like, I hope not. Right? Because I didn't really teach you anything. It's
No.
like, there's this circus of enlightenment, right? You just go after rides and rides, and you can get stuck there for a long, long time. And I'm at the exit sign, goes, do you want to get out of this, please? Are you sick and tired of this madness?
Yes. Yes.
So when you get out of the place, I'm like, look, it's just words. It's just
Yeah.
thoughts. It's just beliefs. What are you without thoughts and beliefs?
Just nothing.
Yeah, yeah,
Silence. I
yeah.
don't,
Silence. Yeah, yeah. And then that silence is going to, in the story anyway, will eventually just be more predominant, right? Than the thoughts of, when am I going to get enlightened? When am I going to whatever, right?
yes.
Yeah. When you see that there's no enlightenment, that's the enlightenment. You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
Yeah. But you can't even say that I got enlightened because that's just another thought.
That's what's enlightened.
When everything
Anyway.
basically, what is it anyway? It's just a word. It's a made up
Exactly.
word to
Yeah.
create an idea that there's something better than this. It's the same thing as a salesman selling ice to Eskimos. Would you like to buy some ice? Yeah, so it's you know what? Like I like Angelo. I like, a whole bunch of people, you know what I'm saying? Um but it's but there's also a lot of people that will tag you along.
Yeah, that's where it's cruel, to convince someone they have contracted energy. That's why when they like find nothing, it's boring and nothing. And so I'm like, oh, it's because I have contracted energy. That's why
Yeah,
I can't find anything.
I know. And you know what?
Something's blocking me,
I know,
or
and
or
I
I
went
have a
through that.
repressed emotion. What is it?
I can't find my repressed
That's what
emotion.
Angelo says all the time.
Yeah,
You're repressing something, and I'm like,
yeah,
what am I repressing?
yeah,
What? Like, what is it?
yeah. What is it? Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. But
Well, yeah, yeah. It's just a thought. But also, they'll also say it's all thought.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
don't know.
So which one is it? Which it's contradictory, right? So
Yeah.
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 For me, you know what? I stand firmly. It's just all thoughts.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's no contradictions there.
Because what's an emotion?
It's just a thought. It's sensations, feelings that's, you know, labeled as a thought called, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
Feelings. Yeah.
Yeah.
What's repressed is just another thought, right? And if there's no time, how could
Mhm.
there be a repressed when there's no time? It's just this moment.
Yeah.
Yeah. And where are levels when there's just this moment? And even saying just this moment is already a big thought. You know what I'm saying? But it's clear because if you don't have any thoughts, it's just really this moment. We have to call it something. And just at this moment, when there's no past or future, then there is quietness. Yeah, it's quite fascinating. You know what I'm saying? I mean, there's so many different versions of this, right? And then the teacher, the speaker, or whoever gets stuck um in their ideas about this.
Mm.
There was a point I was getting stuck to be honest with you, right? But luckily, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, okay, you know what? This is not how I started. I started super clear, right? I want to bring it back to the clarity like 8 years ago when this happened, right? And happened. So what I do now is I take the person back into that moment. Because if you go directly at words, if you go to the opposites, if you go to the space, if you put a magnifying glass between two letters, what's between the letter A and the letter B? And if you look at the letters itself, they're made up, right? If you go to different parts of the country, the letter A would not make sense. They're like, what? It's all made up, right? So even
Mhm.
geography is made up. You know, it's quite fascinating, right?
Mm.
It's all thoughts. I even look sometimes
Yeah.
at my dog as
Yeah.
smarter than all of us, basically, right? Because we have an idea of intelligence, but our idea of intelligence is bullcrap. You
That's
know what I'm
funny.
saying?
Yeah. Like you got a really high IQ. You got a lot of thoughts, I
That's what it
guess.
is.
You got a lot of words.
Yeah. You just have more words. And if you look at the characters, you know what? We're just hoarders of words. You're
Yeah.
hoarders. Yeah. Like, you know, if I talk to my brother that doesn't pay attention to anything that I do, you know, I was talking to him about, you know, I was just testing, you know, I'm like, do you have any idea what spirituality is like? He goes, I don't know, like you're new age or something. I'm like, no, no, no. Spirituality, it's like, yeah, you like crystals. And I'm like, see, that's his idea about it. I'm like, do you know about anything about non-duality? And he goes, I don't know. I don't know what's non-duality is. So, you know, I'm like, you know, I didn't think about enlightenment. It's like, yeah, you know, when you put on crystals and you dress in white. Right? And maybe that's
Yep.
what I thought about it too for quite a while, right?
Yeah.
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 And it's the same thing, and the idea for me before, you know, before this, I was born in the 70s, right? So I grew up in the yuppie era, you know what I'm saying, where there was like a lot of stock market, and the dream was to be rich, you know, and have a house and everything, right? So that was the idea of happiness for me. So that was the enlightenment version of my generation. But when I got there, I was like, what the second? This is empty. This is like, I'm not satisfied at all. And then, of course, I went to
Mhm.
spirituality, to catch up with the trend. I'm like, look at all the people in the West, right? They're all like spiritual and everything. Um, they're not even eating meat anymore. Like, wow, that kind of thing. And they're drinking kombucha, right? They're drinking like green juices and everything. So it's a trend that you follow. But do you want to figure out this out on your last breath that everything is made up? You'll see it. Or right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's basically the end of seeking. You enjoy life more. You know what I'm saying? Um, for me, like even if this speaking ends, tomorrow and everything, I can work at McDonald's and I'll be okay with it. People, I'll just ask people, I'm like, would you like, what's between a Big Mac and no Big Mac?
Yeah.
You'll be like, Emerson?
Right.
No, life is just as it is, right? Like you roll with the punches, so
Mhm.
to speak, right? And just be at peace with it. Because this is temporary. If you get caught up in looking for something in your head, then you're missing the big picture, literally. The sunrise, the sunsets, the
Yeah.
beautiful relationships sometimes, right? With, the intimacy with people, the friendships, looking at your nephews and nieces, my mom, my dad, right?
Hmm.
Attending my you know, listening to my friends, um, love life issues, it's like I have a friend that has a new love of his life every like every few months. I'm like, oh, my love of my life. I have two friends like that actually. One from a years ago, and that kind of thing, right? So their enlightenment is that love of their life kind of thing, right? And it's quite fascinating. And even if I try to tell him about, like about non-duality, he goes, "Oh, I'm not interested in that." But you know, he'll call his new love of his like Mrs. or my lady. That's his that's his version of her. Right? And I'll call him out on it. I'm like, how many love of your lives have you had? And it's like, this one is the real one, though, Emerson. I'm
But yeah,
like,
they all are. I have a friend like that too.
oh, really?
And it's just like, hey, we'll
Okay.
see.
I'm like,
We'll see what
from my
happens.
from my tally book, this is 9 now, right? And he goes, I'm like, is the 10th one going to be the best one? He goes, no, no, this ninth one. This ninth one is the real one. I'm like, okay, all right. 4 months later, it's like, oh, it's the same thing. And you know what? In the seeking, this is the same thing I see people, right? They're like, oh, I moved from this teacher to this teacher to this teacher. Right. So this is like a
Mhm.
breakup from non-duality. You can like just, dating all of these non-duality teachers and speakers. And it's beautiful just to stop. And then you see that in that stopping, there's nothing further, there's nothing behind. Then you see what's in front. Then you see the directness of life, right? You smell the roses, you see the sunrise, cry at the sunset, right? Have some problems, fix the problems, right? Get a job, lose a job, that kind of thing. Or move to the forest, I don't know, become a billionaire. It doesn't matter, right? But when you get caught up in the idea that you're better than everybody else, you're caught up in an idea.
Mm.
But when all the ideas stop, right? Then there's easiness, there's lightness. Then life, you know what I'm saying? It's not this really, short view, based on enlightenment. Myopic, not short-sighted, right? So then the lens opens up because you're not caught up in the words anymore. I'm going to stop the recording.